Meeting of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. We have before us this afternoon a couple items that require the committee's review, which will then be, once recommended by the committee, will then be presented to the Board of Selectmen for their final action. One of these items does not require, we do have an item, right, that doesn't require a, are we going to act on the one dealing with the, well, it's actually not, it doesn't be the $23,000, the $25,000 limitation doesn't require action by the committee. The assessor's
Okay. All right.
yeah, I think it falls below, that number
yeah.
falls below 25,
Right.
so it doesn't require action by the committee. So we'll leave that one off. But, so I'll kick it off by saying that we have two items. One is the ARPA funding for Walnut Street sewer extension, and the other one is ARPA funding for the West Street Dam reconstruction. And I'll kick it off and turn it over by kicking it over to Paige Duncan, who'll talk about the Walnut Street sewer extension. Paige?
Sure, thank you. So folks have probably heard all about this project, but in case you haven't, the Walnut Street housing project and infrastructure project has been something we've worked on for a couple of years. The Housing Authority owns 16 acres at the corner of 140 and Walnut Street. It was given to the Housing Authority by the state for the sole purpose of affordable housing use. If it's not used for that, it would revert back to the state, and we don't know what they would use it for. It's very close to I-95. The Housing Authority has been working I've been working with them for the past few years, and we've actually been working with Mass Development and others. We put out an RFP, and there's actually a development team on board to develop the site. The proposed project, private side of it, consists of 200 all affordable apartments for senior citizens, 60 and older. Or maybe it's 55 and older at this point, but so it's all, and every single unit is affordable. In order for the project to be built, we were told back 5 years or so ago from the selectmen that they very much would want a signal to be put at the Walnut Street intersection. We all know that very dangerous intersection with the travel speeds coming off of I-95. And then also, in order to accommodate that density of 200 units, there would need to be sewer. Working with Chris, sewer was able to be designed to run from Central Street, actually down Walnut Street, over an easement by the Stewart Medical Center, down by Walnut Terrace, and then it would go under 140, and then it would tie into the site at the corner of 140 and Walnut Street. So we were able to get a grant that paid for the design of the sewer, and it paid for the design of the signal. And that's been fabulous. Unless you have a design, you don't have a project in the state. And so we did get that done. We've had some more money given to us by the state, a $100,000 earmark to finalize the signal design. So we're very far along. This past October, the project was awarded a $4 million MassWorks grant, which is one of the largest ones well, certainly the largest one in this town, but it's a very big reward. We know the state is very into housing, and this is, as I said, all affordable, and so there's a lot of support there. The sad thing is given the sewer and the signal work, it's not sufficient. We've since gotten $500,000 from the latest budget from the governor's office, so we're at $4.5 million. And I learned through finance and whatnot that the county has ARPA funds, and these ARPA funds are restricted heavily in use. Trust me, I tried to get a hold of them for fund planning things, but sewer being one of them. So
That's a usable.
Yeah, to be used, these ARPA funds can only be used for certain things, and sewer and water are the major component, is my understanding, and someone else can speak better to that. So I approached Marie and the finance team and learned that there was about $500,000 available in the county ARPA money. I believe the town's already spent their money, and it was thought that sewer and water would go along with that. And so we are seeking this $500,000, again, from the county's ARPA money to go towards the sewer portion, some of the sewer portion of this Walnut Street infrastructure project. In addition to benefiting the Housing Authority property that will be built, it will benefit the current Walnut Terrace Housing Authority property that's there. They are all under failed septic systems, so there we have a failed system there. We could expect, we don't know for sure, but the private entities on Walnut, the Stewart Medical and whatnot, they could also choose to tie in as well. So there is an opportunity. It will serve others beyond just the new project. So that's the sum total. We are trying to cobble together money to get enough money to do this project, and we are this close, and this would be a major help. And I don't know if Chris, if you have anything to add to it, but
No, it's a pretty good summary. Current project estimate for construction of the sewer and the intersection is roughly $5.5 million. So we're currently at 4.5. This would bring us to 5. And then we are Paige is working with the state to try to find another $500,000, potentially going back to MassWorks to see if they'll up their support for the project and give us that last $500,000. If we don't get it, then there are some things we can edit on the bid documents, some things we can do as bid alternates. That last $500,000 is kind of built in as contingency. The state does have one last final review, so there could be some additional changes that the state puts out there. It is a state intersection. That's why we're pushing for state funding on this as much as we can. The $4 million was the first big chunk. If we had done it 3 years ago, that would have been enough.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Is that then with the majority of the money expected because of the sewer? Is that the higher cost if it's just lights, or is it more a redesign to where it might be like a rotary design or something that's right there?
It's going to be a fully signalized
two
intersection.
signals, actually. You have to do not only, and that's what and Chris, correct me if I misspeak, but there's a signal at Walnut and 140, and then because the off-ramp to I-95 is so close, there actually has to be a second signal there. So the frustrating part is a big part of the cost for this whole project, and that sewer aside. That's the local, that's clear. But the two signals and all that are really gone up in price, and as the costs have also gone up in price. So that's why we're saying to the state, we're doing your project for you. We've done the design. We are literally got a grant for it. We're there. That said, the sewer, is really what we need to get the project going. We can always catch up with the signal because the signal doesn't need to be operating until they occupy, but we have to prove we have the sewer capacity. So that's sort of a front-end loading. You can't build 200 apartments without adequate sewer, so that's part of it. They did look at rotary design, and Chris would know better about that, but it was not something that was allowed to be considered, unfortunately. We all kind of thought that might be a way to do it, and it's not an option. We were told by MassDOT that this is it. And so we're kind of stuck with the design as it is from the state.
Yeah, we looked at that a couple times, actually,
Yeah.
because it made sense to me to try and look at it that way, but it apparently doesn't meet their requirements because of the volume of traffic going through 140 and the speeds going through there. It just wouldn't work. I also, one thought is because that's a federal highway, 95 is a federal highway, that we might, I think it might behoove us both to I'll go back to Jay Auchincloss and say, look, this is Federal Highway Administration property. Why aren't we, looking at that as an option too?
I did email him last week at the request of the Housing Authority Chairman. Needless to say, last week is a little chaotic at the House. So I don't, and I guess I'm a little concerned as to whether they're going to ever get anything organized, whether we see allocations out of Congress right now.
Well, that's true, because it is obviously it's a mixed bag right now, so.
Yeah, so that's a little bit, but we are working on that, and Dana wrote back and said she'd try to get us scheduled, but, we're kind of not holding out a lot of hope that that's going to be a possibility.
It's interesting, they originally came out and said they were going to give us $4.5 million.
$2 million, they awarded us $2 million.
And then but it never came through, because it never made it through the Senate, apparently.
Right.
So, that's what happened.
The sewer extension, is it something that can be expanded on later if we want to keep it going? I know you get 95 right there. Is there any more neighborhood that is kind of on the other side that?
Well, we're going to go right across 140 with the sewer. It'll go down across 140, all the way down, almost to Commercial, right?
Did North High get into it, Chris?
So the way that the system's been designed, it's been designed as a low-pressure force main system. So any property that would tie into it would need their own pump on their site. We've had success with these systems in some other areas. It eliminates the need for a larger pump station or lift station, which are not only costly to build in the first place, but then to maintain as they go along. So this is kind of how we've designed this system over there. Each property, the existing housing authority property on Walnut Terrace, this future development, they would all have to have their own pumps on site that would be privately maintained, and then it would just be a force main. So is it possible? Yes, but it would be fairly limited to who could tie into it based on that design.
Would a homeowner ever choose to, like, say if they were on Walnut, and I don't know which ones, but, you know, if they were having any issue, would they be able to have their own pump and accomplish that?
They could. They would also have to, extend the main to their property.
Yeah.
What we found in Foxborough is the capacity fee, that one-time fee to buy into the sewer system is fairly expensive. Just to buy in, never mind to do the construction, the actual pipe work. So a lot of homeowners that have come asking, that have had it right out in front of their house, have actually turned around and gone back just to do their own septic system based on that fee that they would be charged. It's more cost effective for them to do a septic system on their own site. So.
So does any of this involve town money at the moment, whether it's matching or otherwise?
Not on this one right now, no.
No,
When you
it's-
say town, like budgetary.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's budgeted funds, right. No, we actually, it's interesting because the $500,000 that we're looking to act on this afternoon is $500,000 of the town's ARPA money that flows through the county.
County, right.
And you may have not recall, Dennis, that on the board, we talked about the fact that we went to the county and advocated very strongly to try and, there was a $10 million limit on money that we could spend, but it got applied to the entire county instead of us.
Yeah.
And as a result, that money that we're talking about here, it falls into that $10 million cap, if you will. And then what happened is that, so that puts us in a position where we can only spend it on projects that qualify under the federal guidelines. And this is one of the projects that would qualify under federal guidelines. Right. Any further questions or comments on the project? All right, we'll come back to voting on it, but we'll hear from on the second project, which is the
West Street.
on the West Street Dam. Chris?
Sure. So as I think everybody's aware, the West Street Dam is under construction. We bid that out last spring. Aaron Pacella has been on site for the last 3 months now. They have since removed the existing culvert, replaced that culvert, put the stream back to that new culvert that is flowing again. He's working on rebuilding the road at this point in time. Part of that project, one of the cost increases we've seen, and we're negotiating that price right now with the contractor, has been rock removal. It so happens that when they built that dam, it was, they built it around a lot of rocks. That usually tends to increase the cost of these projects. So we're negotiating down, hoping to be somewhere in the $150,000 range for that, the additional cost of that project. We don't have that in the budget. So there is some additional ARPA funds available, 207, 275. We're asking for that to help cover that additional expense and any future expense, as we try to finish up that project.
So the 275 is what you need, is what you're looking for?
No, the 207. 275.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, 207.
So that seems like the balance of the ARPA funds that we could use, again, towards, very specific infrastructure projects through the county that we would ask for to balance out that. In addition, if we don't need all of that 207, we do have 5 other dams in town that all need phase 1, phase 2 inspections. They'll all come with some repair work, maintenance work. We're trying to change the classifications on some of those by doing some safety improvements, try to get them into a lower safety classification. So any balance that doesn't go towards the West Street project would go towards those other 5 dams that we have.
So that speaks to the issue of how, if the committee is so inclined to vote for this, that it speaks to how that motion would be crafted, because if the money were to go to, the 207, 275 would go to, as it currently stands, was, I think, identified for the West Street Dam, but you could actually, you think you're more inclined to think that it would be used for dam improvements throughout the town.
Yeah, and I think that's how we voted the initial 600,000 that we did
Dam
last spring.
So that being specific.
Was dam improvements. It wasn't specific, we didn't say 300 for this and 300 for that. We did dam improvements.
These dam improvements are needed, and we have to pay for them anyways. We might as well use the federal money to do it, instead of using our own at this point. And then we're going to have to come back and eventually use our own on top of that.
So was it the rock, all of the existing rocks that had to be removed, that was more kind of a surprise, if you will, and why it wasn't originally when we did the ARPA funds from before?
Yeah. Yeah, so that helps. And we actually did borings along that stretch of road prior to the design, and just as it is, we apparently missed all the rocks when we did the borings. So, it wasn't included in the original bid, so we didn't have that in the contract price when we presented last spring. So it's an additional cost. The other thing that we're doing is we have to match fund the grants that we got from the state. So we have some of our Chapter 90 funding kind of earmarked for, any balance left over that the grant doesn't fund and the original ARPA fund money doesn't fund. So if we can save on the Chapter 90 funding, that goes back into sidewalks or roads throughout the rest of the town. Again, this is the county ARPA money, that has
County/town.
It's the money that has restrictions on what it can be used for, infrastructure, water, sewer, drain, dam improvements are all fall into that category.
Something to think about. Obviously, it's not something I'll probably end up working on, but you should remember that there are other funds within the county that are not being used because they're in towns like us that don't have specific uses for them. So there may be additional opportunity at the county to extract some money from those unused funds, because you don't forget those projects have to be identified and approved prior to, and I think almost spent before 2025. So otherwise, the money goes back to the federal government. So I think we should not lose track of that, and probably at some point, maybe Marie, you should reach out to the county and ask them if they have additional funding available that we can potentially use at the county level. Right? So
Anticipated time frame that West Street will be opened back up?
So we're trying by the end of this month to get it passable. Chances are it won't be paved yet, just because right now most of the asphalt plants are closed and they charge a premium for hot mix asphalt through the winter. So our thought is, in the contract, I think in the next 2 weeks, you can have it passable, safe. It would be, in essence, a gravel road to that. It'd be compacted so that it would be passable. They're still working. Once he's done, National Grid has to get out there, relocate some poles. There is still water main work to be done on the extent of that road. We're going to go all the way to South Street and then all the way to the town line with the water main project. So they're going to be out there into the spring, probably early summer, before they're completely finished. So there'll be daily shutdowns during construction at that point in time. Probably, starting in February, it'll be a daytime shutdown while he's working. But it should be open during the night, during off hours. It'll be passable and safe at that point. So it's a big project.
any questions from the committee about this particular project? Okay, we good? All right, so let's go back to both projects at this point. Any final comments or concerns about Project 1 or Project 2? Project 1 being the $500,000 for the Walnut Street project, and the Project 2 being the dam improvement project. So I'll entertain a motion. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion on item 1 which is the $500,000 Walnut Street ARPA fund, use of ARPA funds for the Walnut Street improvements. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Okay? And do I have a second on the committee?
Second.
Second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the vote is unanimous. I'll entertain a second motion on the use of ARPA funds for dam improvements throughout Foxborough. Do I hear that motion? Motion, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and both projects are approved. So what will happen now is that we will then present this report. George or Maria, whoever's going to put this together, will present this report to the advisor, to the selectmen. We're hoping to get this in front of them on the 17th. 17th would be the next meeting, which will be next week. So we just need to make sure that report's ready for that.
Yeah, I usually take it right off the YouTube.
Sure, and just
Hopefully we'll
provide.
have it up this week.
That's right. And then we'll get that over to, make sure it gets to Christina before Friday, if we can do that. Okay?
Yep.
Great. All right, thank you, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much.